Hi everybody, Monica Bodierski here. I am an artist and author, and I've created a couple of oracle decks, and I've done a few videos. A lot of them are about shadow work. So welcome, pull up a chair, maybe grab your tarot deck or your Lenormand deck, and we're going to talk about doing shadow work. I haven't really talked about it in a little while, and it's something that comes up a lot with clients. You know, there's a real confusion about what shadows are, and I guess the Jungian idea of shadow work to reclaim parts of ourselves that maybe we're not accepting, we don't like, we think, they're just not acceptable by society, and, we see it in others and we can't stand it, so it can't be part of us. There's all sorts of shadows. There can be shadows from trauma and childhood. Whatever the reason, it's really uncomfortable to sometimes sit down and say, okay, we're going to tackle those suckers. So I wanted to talk a little bit about defensiveness because it's directly related. And I hope in this video, after we talk a little bit, you're going to look at shadow work a little bit differently and maybe try approaching it from a different angle. Okay, so what I have here, as you may know, is the Seven of Wands. And in a Rider-Waite-Smith tarot system, it's always showing somebody defending themselves. There's lots of ideas of who that person may be defending themselves against. In my deck, you don't really see that, as in a lot of decks. There's just wands pointing at this witch who is pointing back with her wand and zapping the people. But this is definitely a posture of defense because, well, it's 6 against 1. This is the Seven of Wands. Even the little cat familiar is trying to assist here. So what is it about defensiveness and shadow work I want to talk about? When we're looking at shadows of ourselves, and maybe we're using these cards to engage in this work, this is the Shadowland Tarot. I know the author and the artist, so I tend to use it to look at shadows. And again, because they're very lighthearted drawings, they help me face fears. So now we have fears and defensiveness. Yes, we're getting there. It is our fear that creates defensive feelings, words, or actions, I think. And sometimes those fears are very real, and sometimes they're just in our minds, okay? Let's just say this person is genuinely being attacked or bullied. Well, there's no question here. This isn't the kind of defensiveness I mean. I mean the kind of defensiveness that gets you reading your cards inaccurately. It's very closely linked to objectivity. Well, we might not recognize it as fear or wanting to protect ourselves. Protect ourselves from a truth we don't want to see. And there's so many reasons for that. Let's just say I had a client pick the Two of Swords, and I were to ask that client, because I think readings are both you offering advice and listening to your client as well. If I were to ask that client what they see in this card or what they're feeling about a shadow, they may again see themselves as, well, somebody's protecting themselves, or they can't see. For whatever reason, there's people coming at them. I don't know. People are flinging things. I've had some very interesting narratives from people, and that's good. At least we're looking at things. Maybe though, if we looked a little deeper and I said, well, maybe you are at a standstill with decisions. Oh, well, yeah, of course I am. I mean, there's the uncertainty of COVID. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't commit. I can't plan. I mean, everything's in flux. And I might suggest, maybe the shadow of this card is you don't want to decide because that requires commitment and it requires accountability and follow through. And you're afraid, underlying here, you're afraid that you're making the wrong choice. So you'd rather not make a choice, right? That's a shadow of maybe this card, instead of a truce or just wanting to stay neutral is a very positive thing, or feeling that you must stay neutral due to circumstances outside yourself. You might have to look deep within and say, how do I feel about making decisions? Ooh, terrified. Why? Well, because then I could be wrong, or I might have to actually do that thing and it'll turn out horribly. Okay? So here we are with a card showing a key to digging in a little deeper if you're having trouble seeing the shadow side of a card. Asking yourselves questions is really helpful. Let's just say you pick, that was kind of a neutral card, I think, as far as most people think. But let's say you picked a card like the Six of Pentacles, which in this deck is pretty positive. It's about equity, but it's also showing a lot of gift giving going on. And you're saying, Monica, what could there possibly be attached to gift giving that is a shadow? Well, I think a lot of us know. Why are we giving gifts? Maybe look at your motivation. Maybe look at how you feel about gifts. Are you measuring how much people care about you by the size of the gift? Notice the different sizes here. Are you seeing hierarchy in gift giving? Do you feel that you're not getting the gifts you deserve? Or are you giving gifts so that you get gifts? I mean, looking at your motivation is definitely potentially a shadow aspect of this card. You might, though, if you were very defensive about your behavior, say, yeah, I don't get enough gifts here, and I don't know, I feel I'm very generous, but no one else is generous. That could be. You might just not be hanging out with the right folks, okay? I don't know. But what I'm asking you to do is take a deeper dive into the whole thing and look at it from all sides, okay? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. How do you feel when you don't get gifts? How are you reacting? What is your motivation? Maybe it's just to feel really good. You get that high from giving something a gift. Wow, I'm really going to surprise them. They're going to be so thrilled. Maybe it's more for you than them. When people buy you the gift that they want, right? We do that sometimes. So just take a closer look, okay? What else can I say about shadows? They're not all horrific. They're not all to be feared. When we think about defensiveness and our own fragility when confronted with certain truths, I think we need to be honest that they're just things that we don't like to hear. Perhaps we've never been told those things. Sometimes you build up really good muscles. Like, I'm an artist, okay? You build up some pretty good muscles for criticism. And that's a good thing. It makes you stronger. It makes you more resilient. If you've never put yourself out there, though, and you've never been criticized, or if you are a member of a majority in our society and you're just accepted without any kind of question, well, maybe you just haven't built up those muscles. And maybe you're overly defensive or feeling persecuted. But that can carry over into your shadow work, clearly, if you don't feel that you can be objective about yourself. Ask somebody you trust. Now, don't go asking your partner who adores you. Yes, of course, dear. And don't go asking your best friend who is not going to tell you the truth. And really, don't go to family members who are just waiting to point out the thing, right? Pick somebody you trust as being objective about your behavior, who's known you for a while, who's seen you at your best and your worst, but you trust will be able to share how you are. and just ask them, do you think, what do you think? Do you think I'm decisive? You know, do you think once I've made a decision, I stick to it? You know, how do you see me? And yeah, we're all really good at hiding ourselves sometimes, and it might be tough for anyone to get to the real us. And I'm not saying wait for people to tell you how you are or validate you. I'm just saying, you know, keep your ears open and think about circumstances in which people maybe have mentioned commitment to you. Is this a recurring pattern or theme? Every workplace you've been at, have you been told you want to pick up the pace because we're hitting a deadline? Are you resistant all the time? If you are, take a look at that shadow. Why are you resistant? Well, I have authority issues. Well, yes, are you going to let that run your life? You know, there's a certain point at which we're only hurting ourselves. And shadow work is not about picking up that big stick and criticizing yourself. It's just shining a light into those nooks and crannies in our behavior of things that are holding us back. You know, it's not about whether other people think your behavior is bad or good. It's about pulling those bits and pieces of yourself together so that you're pulling all the blocks, all the roadblocks out of your own path. You know that horrid expression lots of us never understood when, well, okay, maybe you did. I had no idea what people were saying when I was really young, and they said, you're in your own way. Get out of your own way. I'm going, what the hell are they talking about? Because that's the problem, right? You cannot see that. I just took time. I contemplated. I slowed down a little bit. There's another fear we can tackle. People who are always running around at the speed of light. They're not looking at their shadow of their fear of moving too slowly, maybe getting left behind, not keeping up. Again, fear, right? Let's all take a little breather here and look at our behavior as it's impacting others and how it's impacting us. And maybe we can just love ourselves a little bit more, even with all those, you know, bumps and bruises and parts of us that, you know, maybe we don't like, but we can accept. We can accept those in ourselves, and you know what happens then? You've heard me say it before. You start accepting those characteristics, those behaviors that aren't horribly harmful. They're just things that bug you, okay? You start to accept it in others as you forgive yourself for those things. You develop better boundaries to keep yourself from being in abusive situations. You develop stronger self-esteem, therefore stronger boundaries, right? Then when you look at your cards, they're speaking a whole new language to you. And it's one you are not afraid of. You're just going, whoa, there's a whole nother layer to these cards. Yes, there is the, here are gifts and exchange and equity. Okay, if you read reversals, there are no gifts being exchanged. There's no equity. Then there's those million shades of gray in the shadow realm. And that's why I love tarot so much. It's all there. We just need to open our hearts and our minds a little bit and accept. So, thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. Have fun tippy-toeing into those shadows. Don't be worried about them. Stay well, stay healthy. Remember to subscribe if you're enjoying these, and hop on over to IGTV where I'm giving free readings. And you know, this is a pandemic. A lot of people can't afford readings, and I'm taking the time to offer those readings for free for that reason. So if you find yourself needing a little advice and you're strapped, go take a look at those, and I hope they help. Okay, take care. Please leave your comments below, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.